What is going on, Twitch? Happy Wednesday. It is Wednesday, February 22nd. And this is Streaming on Streaming, a awesome weekly live show right here on the AWS Twitch channel where we talk about all things live streaming. I am Todd Sharp. I am the host, and we will get started right after this. I don't know how you cannot love that intro music. Welcome back. Streaming on Streaming, Wednesday, February 22nd. As I've said, we've got a handful of friends in the chat today. Very awesome to see you all. I appreciate you all joining. I see Up and Forward Media. Hey, Todd, how are you today? I am doing very excellent. Yeah, it's been an okay week. How about you, Up and Forward Media? How is your week going? How is everybody else's week going so far? Had Monday off, right? So it's kind of a short week. And I was out of the office last week. So I was actually out in the Bay Area, out in Oakland, California, for Developer Week, the conference out there, and it was a good event. I enjoyed it, very much enjoyed it. Had a lot of really cool people that I met, a lot of college people, which was really good to see. College students is not a crowd that I really see that much of at developer conferences, so I was really encouraged to see that. And they all most of the people that I met and interacted with were mostly college students, so it was really cool. I loved it. It was great to see. So good event. Was out at the Oakland, where was it? It was at the Marriott in downtown Oakland, but I think it's called the Oakland Convention Center. But yeah, enjoyed it. Very cool. And always great to be in the Bay Area and pay like $42 for a chicken quesadilla and a diet soda. So yeah, part of the joy of visiting the Bay Area, of course, but it's all good. So yeah, Streaming on Streaming, where we talk about creating live streaming web applications focused on Amazon Interactive Video Service. We also sometimes just talk about streaming in general, tips for content creators, gear, things like that, and just an overall general focus on live streaming and developers. Of course, I am a developer advocate for Amazon Interactive Video Service. And Up and Forward Media says, I chatted you on YouTube on the private stream video you posted. I'm following you over here now. Excellent. Yes, I do. I think I know exactly who you are. Very great to see you, and very much appreciate the feedback. Hope that last video, which was actually from our live stream here on twitch.tv/AWS, I post all of those live streams on demand afterwards on my YouTube channel, Recursive Codes. And speaking of on demand, it's a great segue for today's topic, which is videos on demand, right? So if you're joining the live stream today here on Twitch, you are tuning in to see a live stream where we talk about creating live streams and archiving those live streams as videos on demand, or VODs, as they're often called. If you're not watching this as a live stream, if you're watching this on my YouTube channel or here on Twitch as a VOD, as a video on demand, then you are technically watching a video on demand of a live stream where we build a live stream that creates videos on demand. So, yeah, I'm not sure what 7th level of recursive hell that we've just entered and what kind of meta Meta, what's the name of that movie? Oh god, Meta Inception. Meta Inception. Inception's the name of the movie. I'm not sure what kind of meta inception that I've created with this bit of topic, but it's fun. Let's see where it takes us. So, yeah, today's topic is all about videos on demand. So, in other words, your Amazon interactive video service live streams, you can actually have them auto record to an S3 bucket, which is a really cool thing because as you see here on Twitch and some other services, live streams are great. Live streams are fun. They're engaging, they're interactive, they are powerful ways to interact with communities and to create and distribute content. But they are also kind of limited in their reach sometimes. For example, it is 4 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday afternoon in the Eastern United States, in the Eastern time zone. It's 1 p.m. Excuse me, it's 1 p.m. Pacific time. So my friends out in California, Seattle, Oregon, those lovely areas, it's about 1 p.m. So it's just after lunchtime for them. Now, my friends over the pond, over in London, it's 9 p.m. And the further you go, I'm not even sure what time would it be in India right now. It's probably 4:30 a.m., 4 a.m. tomorrow, right? Then you have like Australia, then you have, I mean, time zones are complicated. We've established this in web development that time zones are impossible to understand. No, of course not. Time zones are tricky. And live streams that broadcast at a certain time, which is convenient for myself here on the East Coast and convenient for my friends on the West Coast over in California, and probably, possibly even my friends in London, where it's 9 p.m. That's not too unreasonable to watch a live stream. But for a vast majority of the planet, other than maybe those three, kind of that, maybe that range, I suppose. Well, I don't know, because yeah, I don't know. It just depends, right? But the point is, the reach is limited. You can only have so many people tuning into your live stream, especially if it's kind of, not a Olympic event or a lot, a national soccer game or football game or something like that. So you're limited to your reach with a live stream. And that's why channels like Twitch or platforms like Twitch will allow you to capture those videos on demand and make that content available for your viewers to watch later on. And we've talked about some of the other features in Amazon Interactive Video Service, things like timed metadata, which are really cool, that you can embed data into your live stream. And the nice thing about those, of course, is that they remain as part of the actual live stream. So when you go to play that back on demand, you're able to do that because it's still embedded in. You could still respond to that. So is that Lone Wolf? I believe that's Lone Wolf. It says in India, 2:40 a.m. So right, exactly. I mean, it's super late in India right now. Lone Wolf, are you in India? Are you watching my stream right now at 2:40 a.m.? Because if you are completely awesome, and I will send you an Amazon IVS T-shirt just for being that amazingly dedicated to watching streaming on streaming. But yeah, India 2:40 a.m. Amazing. So videos on demand are a great way to extend the reach of your content and make them available to a broader audience, to a larger audience, right? So today we're going to set up a new Amazon Interactive Video Service channel, and we're going to create a recording configuration. That recording configuration will allow us to enable that channel to record automatically to Amazon S3 buckets. So to do that, let me share my screen. All right. Excellent. So I have my code editor here, and oops, excuse me, 1 second. Let me bring that back up. There we go. All right, so I have my code editor here, and I have a couple scripts. The first script that I have here is it's already written. It's not terribly complex, so I figured I'd write this one ahead of time, and we'll get into writing the code for the recording configuration in just a second here. So this script uses the AWS SDK S3 client, so client slash S3, creates an instance of that client, creates an object containing the create bucket command input, the expected input, and that contains one single property called bucket. And I'm naming that S3 bucket SOS private channel recordings. So we create a request, which is a create bucket command. We pass it the input, and then we get a response by awaiting the result of sending that request on the S3 client. Then we log out that bucket, create bucket response. So if I run this and run that S3 bucket, we have a 200 response, and we get back the location of the S3 bucket. So S3 said, cool, we'll create a new bucket for you. And it's called what you wanted to call it, SOS private channel recordings. So excellent. We have an S3 bucket. So we've got an S3 bucket. The next thing we need to do is create a recording configuration. So recording configuration is just a simple object or entity that describes where and somewhat how we want to auto record our Amazon IVS live streams. So once we create this recording configuration, we will create a new channel. You don't have to create a new channel. You could associate this configuration with an existing channel by updating that channel, but we'll create a new one and we'll associate this recording configuration with it. And from that point forward, only on new streams, not on existing streams. So you can't, a recording configuration when applied to a channel will only apply to the next live stream. You can't apply it to a live stream that's in progress, for example. So going forward, new live streams will all record to this S3 bucket. And if I zoom in here a little bit, there is a, so they'll all record to that bucket that we specify, but once inside that bucket, you're going to have the following naming convention used. It's going to be /IVS/B1, your AWS account ID / your channel ID, your Amazon IVS channel ID, the current year, current month, day, hours, minutes, all slash in between, and then a unique recording ID. So just a unique identifier for that particular recording. That's a pretty unique path considering your account ID, your channel ID, down to the minute that the broadcast started, as well as that unique ID. So that pattern will be used for all your recordings. Now, within that directory, you will have two directories. The first directory within that, when you have started broadcasting and there is data written to this path, the first one is called events, and you'll get a JSON file called recording-started, recording-ended, and optionally recording-failed if a recording fails. So these will only be written, obviously, when the events apply. So when a recording starts, the JSON file will be written to this directory. When it ends, so on and so forth. Now, the other directory is called a media directory /media. So you'll have this whole path, your recording ID /media. And within the media directory, you will have two subdirectories. If configured, you'll have two subdirectories. The first one is called HLS, and this directory will contain some manifest files, some M3U8 manifest files, as well as potentially, as well as subdirectories containing the actual data files, the actual media produced by your live stream. So when you create your live stream, you'll have all these .ts files, TS as in Todd Sharp, not TypeScript. No, actually, it doesn't stand for Todd Sharp. TS files are called transport streams. Is that right? Am I saying that right? Transport streams? I believe it's transport streams. It's not TypeScript files. If you're a JavaScript developer, and you might confuse it for a TypeScript file. Transport streams. So all these transport streams will be saved to this subdirectory, and there will be a subdirectory for every version of that channel, of that stream. So if you have a standard channel and you have 1080, you'll have 1080, you'll have 720, you'll have 480, 360, so on and so forth. And all the media related to those different qualities, those different resolutions, will be contained within those subdirectories. You'll also possibly have a thumbnails directory, and that is a way to automatically generate thumbnails every however many seconds you want to create thumbnails. And this is optional. You don't have to configure thumbnails, but it's nice for, like, if you think about Twitch and you go to the Twitch channel, the AWS channel here on Twitch, and you look at, a past stream, you have a little thumbnail that's just a, single snapshot, single screen of grab of that stream. And it's nice to just have that static thumbnail. You can do whatever you need with that. You can, some people will use that for, say, a dashboard, and just, your channel directory, you have the latest thumbnail from that channel. It just kind of gives people an idea of what's streaming on that channel, right? So that's essentially what happens when you create a recording configuration. So let's go ahead and actually create one. I'll scroll down a little bit here, and I think, looking at my screen, it looks like that font is big enough. So hopefully you all can see that. If not, give me a shout. I'll be glad to bounce it up. And as always, just a quick reminder, any questions, any comments, any feedback, anything at all, please feel free to share in the chat here. This is my time to hang out with you all, learn from you all, and share with you all. So if you have anything that you want to share, feel free. All right, let's get started. So the first thing we need to do is create a client, and that is a IVS client. So we get that by, in this case, I'm using obviously JavaScript. And in this particular NPM project, I have an NPM installed the client-IVS module. If I create an instance of the client, the next thing I need to do is create a input object, and this contains all the necessary information to create our recording configuration. So the first thing we need to do is give it a name. This is just our recording configuration object. I'll call it SOS Streaming on Streaming Demo Recording Config 1. Next thing we need is a thumbnail configuration object. Within that thumbnail configuration object, we need to pass it two things. First thing we need to pass is a recording mode. And I believe the only option is interval. In fact, let's quickly check the docs for that. Recording mode. So you have interval or disabled. You either want to do it on an interval, generate thumbnails on an interval, or you don't create them at all. So we'll use recording mode interval. Interval. There we go. Pretty sure that's right. Visual Studio Code did not want to auto import that for me though, so I will add that to the import myself. Usually that means there's a typo. I'm 99% sure that that's right. So we have recording. We want to record. We want to generate thumbnails on an interval, and only other thing we need to tell it is what that interval is. So how often do we want to generate that thumbnail? So I'll say 60 seconds, which I believe is the default. You'd have to check the docs to be sure, but I'm pretty sure that that is the default. So generate a thumbnail every 60 seconds. What else do we actually? We, in addition, inside of our input, we need to add a recording reconnect window. And what this is, excuse me, I'm not going to have a coughing spell like I did on 2 weeks ago stream. I promise. We're all good. So what this property does is for auto recording live streams, sometimes, networks are not perfect. Sometimes your battery may die. Sometimes, you kick the cable out. You whatever the case may be. Sometimes your broadcast gets interrupted. Sometimes the public internet goes out for a brief period of time. And the reconnect window is essentially telling IVS that within this time frame, if I start broadcasting again, consider this one single broadcast, right? Don't start another recording if I reconnect within 30 seconds. Now, you may want to create a new recording. It just depends on your business rules, like everything, of course. But if you want it to consider a reconnection within a certain amount of time, the same video, this setting will allow you to do that. So reconnect window seconds, I'll say 30. We also need a destination configuration. Destination configuration. The destination configuration must have an S3 property because that is currently the only possible destination for recordings. And within that, we need to give it a bucket name. And that will be the bucket that we just created. So I'll copy and paste that name. All right. So that is our input object. We have a name, thumbnail configuration, reconnect window, and a destination configuration. That's our recording configuration input. Now we need to create a request, create recording configuration command, pass it the input, and get a response by awaiting the result of calling send and passing it the request. And we can log that out and see what we get. Now, if we have no typos, if we have no syntax errors, and we run that, we should get, all right, excellent. We have a recording configuration response. We have a 200 response. We have an ARN for our recording configuration. Now I'm going to copy this because we're going to need that in the next step. And just some general information, pretty much exactly what we just told it, the name, the reconnect window, the current state, which is creating. It does take a little bit of time to actually pull that or create that recording configuration in the recording mode and target interval seconds. So if we check really quickly, list recording configurations, and we take a look down the list, we see that the one we just created, the SOS private channel recording configuration, is now active. So good. Ready to go, ready to use this in our channel. So if we create a channel, we've seen this several times before here on Streaming using the AWS SDK for JavaScript v3. We have a client, just like we had before. We have an input object. This one is for our channel, so we give it a name for our channel. And this one I'm calling SOS Demo Private Channel. It is a standard channel, meaning transcoded 1080, 720, 480, 360, and the latency mode is low. The additional option here that we've not seen before in any of our streams is the recording configuration Amazon resource name, ARN. So if we paste in that ARN from the configuration that we just created, next we have a request, which is a create channel command. We get a response by calling send, by awaiting send, and passing it the channel request. And then we log out the create channel response. If we run that, excellent. We now have a brand new channel that we can use to live stream to. So we have a 200 response, the channel ARN here. We have an ingest endpoint, which I will copy. We have a playback URL, all the standard information. Actually, this is concerning. We have a blank recording configuration ARN. Interesting. Did I run the right script? Let's see here. Create channel. Make sure. Oh, did I not save it? I did not save it. So I just created a channel using the saved version before I pasted in the recording configuration ARN. So we've got a channel that was created that doesn't have a recording configuration. So that's no good. So what we're going to do quickly is we will delete that, and I will do that with this CLI. And that's the ARN of the channel we just created. All right, that's deleted. Now, if we run it again, create channel, make sure it's saved. It is saved. We have the recording configuration ARN. And if we run that again, perfect. Now we have a channel created with a recording configuration. Perfect. So let's grab the ingest endpoint, and we're going to start streaming on this channel right now, live in our browser. So if we go to stream.ivs.rocks and refresh that page quickly. Oh, no. You know what? This is no good. I just messed up StreamYard. So I am going to actually have to reload this stream. All right. Quick test. I believe I'm back live. I'm looking at my monitor. If someone in the chat could very quickly tell me that you can see and hear me, that would be very much appreciated. So what happened there was I tried to use my webcam here on stream.ivs.rocks, and the software that I'm using to broadcast to this Twitch stream didn't like that. It actually failed. My camera stopped working in this other broadcasting software. So what I'm going to try to do now is, let's see if I open this in a incognito window, maybe. Allow, okay, that's better. So what I have here is stream.ibs.rocks is using my FaceTime camera on my MacBook, and I'm using my DSLR up here for this stream. That stream. This, okay, you know what I mean. So no more locking should happen. Yes, appreciate that up and forward. And Lone Wolf, very much appreciate you letting me know you can see and hear me. Perfect. So, so if we open this up, the settings on stream.ibs.rocks, and we come back here and grab that ingest endpoint, and we paste that ingest endpoint here, and we grab our stream key. We paste that in here. Let's see here. What do we have here? So we have our FaceTime camera. We have a default, my headphones as the mic. The stream type, we'll call it 1080p standard. And if I click save and I click start streaming, we're now live streaming on that brand new channel, which is also recording to S3. And we can confirm that by first going to the IVS console, clicking on our brand new channel, and viewing our live stream right here in the browser. So we can, I have like seven layers of live stream here. Broyo Guts says can't see projection. Oh, you're right, because I'm not sharing my desktop. Shame on me. Bad streamer. Apologize for that. All right, there we go. So, to recap, I do this once a week, I swear. Forget that I'm not sharing my desktop. All right, let me quickly show you what I was doing there. So, the stream.ivs.rocks right here. And my settings, I came in here, I pasted my ingest endpoint, I pasted my stream key, I click save, then I click the stream button. We came over to the IVS console, to our list of channels. We clicked on our channel, and we can see that our live stream is running in the preview player right here within the IVS channel. So I've got a live stream on a channel with a recording configuration. If we scroll up here, actually, if I scroll down here, where is it? There it is. Okay. So if I scroll down here in the console, we can see that that recording configuration is associated with this channel. And it even has a link to the S3 bucket where our videos are stored. So if I click on that, and we come over to that S3 bucket, we can see that IVS folder. And if we drill into all of those different levels, as I told you, that would be based on account IDs and channel IDs and month, date, year, hour, so on and so forth. We finally get into this directory and we have a events folder, and there is a recording started.json file. We come back here, we go to media, we can hop into thumbnails. We can see that we've got some thumbnails that have been generated already. If we download one of those quickly and take a look at it, we can see a JPEG thumbnail from the live stream that's currently running. So if we come back here, no need to look at all those different thumbnails. We can come into the HLS directory. We have all our different variations, our 1080, 160, 360, so on and so forth. And all of those TS files, those Todd Sharp files or transport stream files are within the 1080 directory, for example. And all of those other directories will also have their same TS file, all these TS files here. So excellent. So we also have a playlist, by the way, which contains the information that the client player will need to download those particular files when they need those. Excellent. So now the question is, we have all these playlists, we have these TS files, and now what, right? I mean, the question is, it's really cool that we've auto recorded these, but they're in this format. They're not MP4s. What do we do with them? Well, the cool thing is you can actually expose this bucket as with a CloudFront distribution to provide access to them. So we're going to create a CloudFront distribution. We're going to point it at this S3 bucket. And we're also going to create an event bridge listener for the stream start event. And that way we can get a link to the actual directory, because otherwise it would be tricky to try to figure out the directory name for all of your recordings. Even though it does follow a pattern, it would be much easier to have an event broadcast when that happens that gives you that data. So quickly, let's create a CloudFront distribution because we've got 25 minutes left, and I would really love to finish this all up today, show you how it all works. So if I create a distribution and we choose an origin domain, in this case, we want to choose our Amazon S3 bucket that we created with for use to store our recordings. So that gets a name populated. We want to use origin access control settings. I would normally create a new one, but in the interest of time, I'm going to use an existing one that I've already created. And that is just a origin access control that sets the proper, in fact, let's take a quick look. So we want to make sure it signs the requests. It has an origin type of S3. We give it a name and a description, right? So bucket policy, we will have to update our S3 bucket policy to make sure that CloudFront has permission, because right now that bucket is locked down. By default, it has to be locked down when you create recordings for Amazon IVS. So right now it's locked down, but when we update the policy in just a second here, CloudFront will at least have access to it. So we'll be able to serve those files via CloudFront. So I believe that's all we need to set. And I've again stopped sharing my screen. So I've missed out on sharing all that with you again. I should just leave this on by default. Why don't I do that? So Gifted Greedy quickly says, wow, all the different quality. I can imagine that can get expensive quick in S3. That is a point. That is a good point. It could get expensive if you have all those different renditions, the 1080, the 720, 360. I should back up and say, if you don't need all of those different qualities, if you're using a standard IVS channel, you get all those different qualities. If you're using a basic channel, you only get the same quality output as you have input, right? So if you have 1080 in, you get 1080 out. So that may be a consideration. You may want to use basic channels. And of course, if you're recording to S3, you'd only get that one rendition out. The other possible thing you could do, and I've done this even on my internal account, is create a life cycle rule on that bucket, right? So if you come to S3 and you come to, I think it's management, create life cycle rule. So you can actually expire objects after, let's say, 30 days. And this happens on Twitch. If you create a Twitch channel and you want you get VODs from all your live streams, those don't live forever. They only live, I believe, 15 to 30 days on Twitch. And of course, that depends on your status. If you're a partner, I think it lasts 60 days. I don't know the exact numbers, right? But these aren't intended for permanent life. I mean, these aren't intended to be VODs that live forever on your platform, unless that's your business need. If you want to keep them forever and that's in your budget and that's what you want to do, go for it. That's great. Works for me. But lifecycle rules and Gifted Greedy Gifted Greedy says Instaglacier it. That's another possibility. Gifted Greedy also says, I hate deleting things. I hate to delete things. Yeah, I mean, of course, right? I mean, what works for you? Do you want to throw it in Glacier? Do you want to delete it? Do you want to save it for 15 days, save it for 15 minutes, save it for 15 years, whatever your business rules are, of course. Yeah, but yes, it's a consideration. Remember, of course, that if you have a standard channel and you're creating different quality output, then it will create a rendition for every type of output in S3. And that's important because if you have a standard channel, the whole purpose of it, right? And let's take a little sidebar. I know we've got 20 minutes left, but I want to show you why the IVS player is awesome. Okay, we're gonna take a little side journey and say why the IVS player is awesome, particularly when it comes to standard channels. I've not tried this before, so if it doesn't work, this might not be that impressive, but we'll do it live. So I have a playlist URL, and this is the brand new channel that we should still be broadcasting on. If I double check, we're still broadcasting on that. So if I come to debug.ivsdemos.com and I open this menu and I say I want the IVS player SDK and I load that playlist and make sure it's muted. Okay. Right now I've got 720p, which came up to 1080p already. So I've got 2 seconds of latency. My buffer is 2 seconds. So 1, 2, actually 1, 2, right? Pretty good latency. And that's at 1080p. I have a really good connection. I'm hardwired. I have fiber to the home and I have 100 gig service. So I've got good internet. So what happens though if I have not so good internet? What happens if I throttle to, let's try this. As I said, I've not tried this before, but what if happens if I throttled to 3G? What happens to the player? So what happened was my latency dropped to, it's all the way down to 8 seconds now, about 9 seconds, and my quality dropped to 360p. My buffer's at 5 seconds. So the point being, the stream actually doesn't look that terrible. It's back up to 4. It's kind of bouncing between 480 and 360. The stream doesn't look that terrible, but the stream is still running, right? And that's the important part. People who are on a network that might not be that amazing, they might have Wi-Fi, they might have just their country or their geographic area that they live in might not be capable of delivering 1080 at 2 seconds latency, but they can still view your stream. They still get a decent low latency, in this case, 8 seconds. And this is on 3G. 3G is terrible. Have you ever used a 3G phone? I mean, 3G's, I don't know how we lived through 3G. It was so terrible. But they're still able to view your stream, right? What else? Let's see if we can add a custom profile. So we'll say test, and we'll say 5 megabits per second. No, we don't want any latency, so let's try that. So if we use this custom profile, I'm not even sure what 3G would be. So what happens if we use 5 megs up and down? It's about the same. But okay, so point being, all those different renditions allows you to deliver your live streams to a global audience with decent quality and low latency worldwide. So let me actually cancel that throttling so I don't forget it's there and wonder tomorrow why it takes me an hour to download something. So Gifted Greedy says this is huge for streamers. Gifted Greedy also says if you lag out and go offline, you will lose viewers. Absolutely. I mean, that's great. That's a perfect point. And if you're creating a platform for people to share content, you don't want that. You want your streams to be online, whether they're super ultra low latency or super high quality. At least they're online. At least viewers can see and interact. All right, I'm done with the debug player, I think. Actually, let me reload that. I'll stop that. Okay. In case we have to come back, I'll leave that tab open. But end of the little side rant, back to CloudFront. And I should have started clicking this before before I went on that little side rant, because it would have been done creating by now. So let's click create distribution. And while we're waiting for that to be created, right now it's deploying, we will copy that policy. we'll go to that bucket that we created and we'll update the policy. So as I said, we need to allow CloudFront to be able to access this bucket. So if we scroll down here, go to bucket policy and paste in that bucket policy that we copied from CloudFront. Just to remind you, I clicked on copy policy up here in the right-hand corner. I came to the bucket, I pasted that in, and we click save changes. So now we have applied that bucket policy. So to give you an idea of what that says, it has a principal of cloudfront.amazonaws.com for the service. The action is get object, S3 get object. And the resource is everything under this bucket, right? So S3 bucket name slash star. So all of the files, all of the files under this bucket will have this policy applied. And that policy is basically allowing our CloudFront distribution to call get object on that bucket. So we need to do one more thing. Let's go over to Amazon Event Bridge, and we're going to create an Event Bridge rule. And we'll call it SOS recording stopped rule. So every time I want this rule to fire every time a channel recording stops. And this way we can make those videos on demand available to our viewers after the broadcast is off the air. So we want it as a rule with an event pattern, not scheduled. We want it with an event pattern. And the event source is AWS events or Event Bridge partner events. So if we click on sample events, we search for interactive video service. Oops. Search for IVS. Where is it? Aren't you there? Inter L. What am I doing wrong? Sample event, AWS events. Let's scroll down and look for it because it should be searching for that. Interesting. Why are you not there? Okay. Let's go back to rules. Because I am in the wrong region for some reason. Very odd. I did not change that, but something did. All right, try it again. SOS porting and rule. Event pattern. So searching for AWS events. This time, interactive. Actually, okay. So IVS recording state change. So we want a recording state change event. And this is just a sample event. And if we come down here to the event pattern, search for IVS, and we search for recording state change, we can see that we can do a rule to match recording state change events. Now, let me quickly hop over to the other rule that I have created and just copy this event pattern just to make my life a little easier. And if I come down here and I edit the pattern and I paste that rule in. So in this case, we only want to filter on recording end events. So if we had a detail object and a recording status of recording end, and we can even filter it to a channel name, a particular channel. So in this case, we want to filter it to this SOS demo private channel. I don't know why did I call it private channel? Because if I did, that was a silly name because it's not a private channel. I must have misnamed that. Okay. Well, I am just full of surprises today. All right. If we come back over here, paste in that channel name and test the pattern. Sample event did not match the event pattern. So if I change the sample event, can I change that? Hmm. Actually, let's we don't particularly need that sample event to match the pattern. So we'll move forward. All right, target type. So what do we want to do with these events when they come into EventBridge? We want to log them to a CloudWatch group. So we'll say SOS recording group. We'll click next, next, and create the rule. So now, every time a stream is ended, a recording ended event, a recording end event happens on that channel, in this case, SOS demo private channel, it will be logged to CloudWatch. And if we trigger one of those events by stopping our stream, so click stop stream, and we can close that. If we come over to CloudWatch and we look at our log groups, I call that group. So I called it, nope, that's not it. Sorry. So I called it SOSRE rule, and I called the CloudWatch log. Well, actually, let's just click on that. That should take us directly to the logs. So for some reason, it didn't log that event, but I think that may be because the stream was already started before I created that rule. So if we try again really quick, and that should be still the proper key. So if we try this again, or no, it's not going to be, is it? All right, let's just make sure it's in the right stream key, got the right ingest endpoint, save that, start streaming. So if we stream this for just a second or two, there'll be nothing here because I'm only filtered that event bridge rule to be for recording end events. So if I fire a recording end event by clicking stop streaming and just actually there is sometimes a little delay before that event is fired. And of course, that is because of that recording reconnect window that we talked about earlier in the recording configuration, right? So that event's not going to fire until at least that window is clear so that it can be sure that you're not going to reconnect and restart the stream, right? So that's something that should be you should be aware of to make sure. Obviously, your events are not going to fire immediately. So, Gifted Greedy says, would the SOS go off anytime you end the stream, which would end recording? Wonder how to make it only go off for unexpected stoppage. Oh, so unexpected stoppage would be uh, a recording failed or oh, let's look at the user guide real quick. Good question, Gifted Greedy. Let's look at the IVS user guide, event bridge. The recording ended would fire anytime a recording ends. IVS stream state change will fire on a stream failure. So you could create an event bridge rule looking for stream state change in the event of stream failure. There's also health related events like starvation start, starvation end. all kinds of events. This is a really good link. Yeah, exactly. AWS documentation is so good. Wow. And I will give a shout out to our amazing documentation team on the IVS team, Ronnie and her team do an amazing job. I appreciate very much the documentation work that they do, as well as all the rest of the folks who work on AWS docs. So, yeah, check that out. Gift to Greedy. That should help you out. So, let's check again over here in CloudWatch and see if our event has fired yet. All right, excellent. So both events have fired. So the first event, as I said, had to wait till that window is cleared before it got fired. So that has fired. And if we open that up and look at that, we have a recording end event. And the thing that we're really after here is this guy right here. This little item right here is the recording S3 key prefix, and that contains all those IDs, those timestamps, date, year, month, hour, all that good stuff that we need in order to recreate our live stream. So, since we're running low on time, I'll just show you this quickly. If you wanted to get the recording events, you could use, of course, the CloudWatch logs client, make a request using the log group name, the start time and end time in Unix timestamp format. And you can programmatically pull this data from that CloudWatch log. We won't do that at this time in the interest of time because we're running close here. But if we come back to CloudFront, and we look at our SOS private channel recordings distribution, it is created. So that's ready to go. So now we have a recording configuration, we have a stream, we fired an event when the stream ended, we got the S3 path from that event. Now we want to play back our live stream. So what do we need to do here? We need to grab our domain name from CloudFront. So we'll grab that. We will plug that into the IVS debug player loader here. We will copy this path. So that CloudFront is fronting that S3 bucket, right? So instead of using the standard S3 path, we need to use the CloudFront distribution domain to front that bucket, essentially. So if we paste in that rest of that path, we also need to paste in the last bit of it, that, and that is media / HLS / master .m3u8. So if we show a player again, and if we load this, hopefully everything works. Oh, we've got a CORS error. That's a shame. So I must have messed up something in setting the CORS setting. Actually, let's see if we can quickly see what that might be. So if we come back to S3, permissions, CORS policy, let me check my other bucket real quick here. So I do believe I need to apply a CORS policy. So if I come to my other bucket that I've done before, and I scroll down, no CORS policy. What did I do wrong here? That's the wrong bucket. Come over here. Demo, stream archive, permissions. There we go. So we need to apply a CORS policy. And we will do that to our S3 bucket. So we edit that, paste that. So allowed methods get, allowed origins all. Of course, you could filter that to a specific domain. If you wanted to limit that to a very specific domain, you could do that. So let's try this again. I wonder if I need to do an invalidation on that. It's possible that I need to do a cache invalidation. And we are actually about out of time. Yeah, so we do have other folks getting ready to stream on the channel. So unfortunately, I am not going to be able to show you the final product here, but there's a link just posted in chat with a blog post that will walk you through the entire process that we did today. If you're interested in adding your own recording configurations to create videos on demand from your Amazon IVS live streams, please do check out that blog post. And as always, feedback's welcome. If you'd like to comment on that blog post, if you'd like to hook up with me on Twitter at Recursive Codes, if you'd like to hook up with me on LinkedIn, place a message in the chat, whatever you need to do to get a hold of me, I am here to answer your questions, to chat, to learn about what you're working on, all of that fun stuff. Very much appreciate you joining me today here, streaming on streaming. And next week, we're going to take this another step further. We're going to show you how to log chat messages and then pull everything all together and actually replay a live stream with chat playback at the same time, just like you would get here on Twitch. So streaming on streaming, 4 o'clock Wednesdays, twitch.tv/AWS. Thank you so much for joining, and I'll see you next time.